There's so many different kinds of picking out there, and I can't tell you which one is the best. I, I'm a fan of 80s metal. I'm a fan of a lot of the, soaring lead type stuff that, a lot of players like George Lynch do. And I tend to kind of gravitate towards that kind of playing. So when I think of picking, I think of alternate picking, I think of economy picking, I think of sweep picking. Those are kind of the ones that I kind of gravitate towards. I try to throw some tapping in, things like that. When I'm recording, I try to push myself to do things that are a little bit outside, outside my wheelhouse, and I try to get better and better and better at certain techniques. And I'm not going to preach to you that you got to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, because I'm the world's worst about sitting down every single day and getting in some time. But when I do practice, those are kinds of things that I focus on. So one of the things that I have been working on a lot lately is sweep picking, so stuff like this. Which, that was horrible. A little bit better. So stuff like that. And it kind of, in my mind, it kind of includes a lot of economy picking. You can kind of dabble with sweeping across the strings and also throwing in some alternate picking and things like that. So it kind of all kind of meshes together. And it, I think your technique is going to be different from my technique, is going to be different from somebody else's technique. Like, everybody's technique is going to be a little bit different. But I'm going to show you some things that I have kind of picked up on that might help you as well. So first thing I'm going to do is show you a little shape, and I'm going to show you how to do it with a metronome. It's a little simple triad shape where we're going to play, let's do this one. It sounds like that race theme. We're playing third string, 12, second string, 13. Then notice the index finger is going to hop from the third string, middle finger on the second string. It's going to run back over to the first string there, 12. Pinky or ring finger, whichever one you like, to the 15, back to the 12, back to the second string of the 13, then back to the third string at the 12. So just a simple little lick. And some fundamentals that we need to work on there are pick angle, wrist angle, and locking it in with the synchronization of the hands. So metronome, which I'm horrible at, locking into 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still probably going a little bit too fast. But the idea here is I'm moving my wrist, instead of moving it like this, I'm kind of down here on these three strings. And then when I come up, I'm moving the pick, changing the angle of the pick where it's slightly towards the ground. When I go back down, slightly towards me. That's just a little simple one that you can work on. And metronome practice is really going to help you with that. And you can move that all over the place. Something like that. Sounds kind of chromatic. Megadeth might use stuff like that. But that's something that you could play with to move it all around. And it's not really in a scale, but it just gives you a good practice idea. So within scales, what you want to do is you want to try to find various places to play these things. And usually what they are is they're groupings of triads. Like one shape that I learned really early on was this shape right here. Which is basically, right, that's an A minor chord where I'm playing on the fifth string, I'm playing 12, then 14, 14 on the fourth and the third strings. Then when I get to the second string, I'm playing the 13, and the first string I'm playing, and this is similar to what we did in the other one, I'm playing the 12 and the 15. So you got, so you look for the shapes that are going to fit these sweeps. And then what you have to do is you have to think in terms of one note at a time, because we don't want to play the chord, right? I don't want to play because it's not going to sound sweepy, right? We want it to sound sweepy, so we want to lift up every time we come across a string. So even across the bridge here where I'm playing 14 on the 4th and the 3rd, we want to mute that one and play that one. So when we go back to that little 3-note one that I was doing before, you can't do this. You gotta play that 3rd string, lift up, play that 2nd string, lift up, play that 1st string, lift up, or hammer on, or down pick, up pick, and pull off. Then back to the 2nd string, back to the 3rd string. It's tricky. It's a lot of right hand stuff going on, a lot of left hand stuff going on, but it's tricky. Then you learn how to put them together and build things up. So one thing I'm working on is that idea of going across strings. Like this is all 1st finger just barring that 12th fret. And being able to, like that, right? Like that I'm not good at that. I'm letting you know this is something I'm working on, right? Being able to go ahead and take and being able to manipulate that 1st finger there and the palm of my hand here. Right, there's a little, it's nuanced. It's very, very nuanced, and I'm not good at it. I'm not telling you that I'm good at it. I'm not telling you exactly how to practice this. I'm just saying these are little things that you want to pick up because there's a lot of sweeps that will go across like 1 or 2 or 3 strings where you gotta go across those 3 strings, and one finger's holding down all 3 strings. And it's easier when you have different fingerings on each string. It becomes easier when the fingers are moving, which is weird because you would think it would. You would think it would be easier when you're doing that. But it's actually easier when the fingers are moving around on the shapes. So when you're practicing these things, you want to make sure that your palm muting is correct. One thing that helps too is when the strings are lower to the fretboard. We got cold, right? I need to bring the truss rod back on this guitar, and right now my action's kind of high on this guitar, and it's making it a little bit difficult for me to play. I'm blaming the guitar. But something like that, where I'm moving my fingers around, is a little bit easier than when I have a shape like this, where like on the 4th and the 3rd strings, I got a bar across the 14, and they ring out at the same time. I want to reduce that noise. I really got to practice, getting rid of that noise and making sure only one string rings out at a time. So you got to ask yourself, can your fretting hand, keep up with your picking hand? When we're doing stuff like this, that one finger down on the 12th fret, lift up the pad of my finger, lift up the next part, lift up the next part, lift up the next part, then start putting them down slowly and lift it up in reverse. And not quite perfect, but you're getting the idea, right? You can use the palm here to mute as well. And I'm using speed to cover up mistakes. We got to slow that down. We got to put a metronome on, and we got to really But you get the idea, because that's going to translate. Right hand technique and left hand technique will translate into the, just by practicing that kind of stuff. So people like Jason Becker and Yngwie Malmsteen and these virtuosos who can really do all this crazy stuff, they, they're setting the bar really, really high, right? You may not be able to get there. I may not be able to ever get there, but that doesn't mean we can't have fun with some of these shapes. So we learn the shapes, and that, that's a whole other lesson, but we learn the shapes and we think about, what we're playing there, and we go ahead and practice nice and slow. Or that one right there, or that little triad that I showed you at the beginning, or even something like this one's going to be within that same scale. That's like E Aeolian, a little more minor sounding, a little more Yngwie sounding, where we're playing first string at the 10, 10 and 14. Then middle finger is going to go to the 12 on the second string, then 11 on the third string with my index finger, and just back through. We can use hammer-ons and pull-offs when we get to the first string. But you got to practice it slow, because what happens is start doing stuff like that, we can get a little bit faster. And that little tightening that up right there. Just little things you got to look at. You got to think about it in terms of every little part has its place, and I got to tighten up every little part. Otherwise, you sound like that, and then it doesn't sound good. And a lot of times people will say distortion will mask mistakes, but I actually think it reveals mistakes more than anything else, because you can hear all that stuff, right? So when you're here, you start hearing all these, crazy noises, because you're not palm muting. You're not muting with your fingers. You're not keeping everything tight. So you put on that metronome. Let me put on a metronome real quick. You put on that metronome and you say to yourself, okay, I want to go ahead and play within this, and I want to keep everything tight. And you just take a simple shape. You can just take two strings, right? We could play first string, 15, 12, and then do that bridge thing where I go 12 to 12 to the second string. And I can go economy picking. I go up, pull off, back to the 12th string, or the 12th fret on the second string, down, and then up pick, and then down pick, and then down pick, and then up pick, pull off, down, or up, down, down, economy picking, up, pull off, up, down, down, up, pull off, up, down, down, up, pull off, up, down, down, like that. So you notice right now I'm just going, but I want to go and then palm mute, and I'm not great at it, but that's kind of an idea. So you take the metronome, and we're going to eliminate the noise nice and slow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So I want to pick on that upstroke, right? And it sounds horrible. And, I'm putting that in. I'm going to leave this in here. I'm putting it in here on purpose. I want you to hear how horrible it sounds, because that's something that we've all got to tighten up, right? Now, if you're a great player out there and you're about to send me a negative comment, keep in mind, you're not my target audience, but and then work on slowly building it up. Everything that you do on the guitar is not going to be the best thing that you do on the guitar. Everything that you do on the guitar is not going to be the best thing that you do on the guitar. Okay, I want to make sure I stress that. So this is stuff, we're getting into areas where, you might be really good at. And that's your strength. Okay, nice little pentatonic licks. That's your strength. But then you get into stuff like this. Which I'm not good at either. And you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm not really good at that. But, you know, you ask yourself, why should you keep practicing it? And you keep practicing it because even that kind of stuff can make you better at the little pentatonic type stuff, right? Like here's a pentatonic lick, which you're probably doing with alternate picking, where we're going 12, 15 on the first and the second strings. But with alternate picking, or not alternate picking, but with economy picking, more sweepy style picking, more hammer-ons and pull-offs and things like that. That's all inside picking, down, up, down, up. And we're sweeping through the strings. That's a little sweep, even if you didn't realize it. That's a little sweep. And it creates a little bit more different, it's a different type of dynamic than this, which is all alternate picking. Okay, so I'll put the backing track back on, which I believe is in a weird key, but I think Aeolian will work as well, like an E Aeolian, which is what we've already been playing with. I think that'll fit. So you think about this song and you think to yourself, okay, well, you know, some people might get to something like this and go, it doesn't fit. It's too fast, it's too blurry, right? Even if I was playing that really, really tight and really, really well, it still wouldn't sound good. What sounds good in this because of the tempo of the song, the way it's orchestrated and everything, it's going to sound better to do nice and slow, right? That wasn't that great, but the idea is you find little parts where it's like, and we don't have to go really, really fast on any of it. It's just finding places where it locks in, and I think that's pretty important as well. And no matter what you do, you kind of got to practice everything. If you got something like this, which is that little 12 on the third string, 13 on the second string, and then 12 and 15 on the first string, just simple. You got to be able to do stuff like that too. And that's something that you got to work on along with the picking. The wrist angle, the pick angle, the palm muting, the muting with the fingers. Just so much stuff, right? It's not one size fits all. It's not one little thing that you got to work on. There's so many little things that you got to tighten up. And believe it or not, there's something called neuroplasticity where your brain kind of learns as you sleep and your muscle memory kind of starts locking things into your nervous system. And the more that you practice these kind of things and kind of start cognitively thinking about these kind of things, the more they start growing within you and you start to become better and better and better, sometimes without even realizing it. It just kind of starts clicking. It's going to click, okay? It's going to click. But again, I said this at the beginning of this lesson too. Not everything is going to be your best. Some things you're going to be stronger at than others because not everything is going to work, you know, with your physiology. I got big old sausage fingers and it's hard for me to play some of these things sometimes. And it's not something that, you know, you're going to be able to do to fidelity every single time. But that doesn't mean you can't practice it, add it into what you're doing, and help other things get better and also have fun with it. Okay, last little part of this lesson, I want to go back to the backing track. And I just want to show you that, you know, once you start getting some of these shapes, these little triads, some of the ones I showed in this lesson, you know, pretty much the ones that I use all the time that, you know, are limited, right? Like I can learn a lot more and I'm going to. I've got a cool book by a guy named Kevin Dillard called Arpeggio Madness. I'm going through that. I'm learning lots and lots and lots of different shapes. It's helping me with my alternate picking, all kinds of different kinds of stuff. So check his stuff out. He's got IntelliShred, he's got Arpeggio Manus. I think they're available on Amazon. Kevin Dillard. And if you and there's other, of course, there's other things out there. Like Bradley Hall's got all kinds of courses. Burnth has all kinds of courses. Like there's all kinds of good stuff out there nowadays. You can go back and do the old Metal Master stuff by what's his name, Doug something. I forget his last name. But you could go through his old stuff because it's all been out there. It's all been out there forever. There's so much cool stuff out there. But one of the things that I do with these shapes, even if I use the same things over and over and over again, is I love to make sure they fit well in songs. So if we go back to this backing track, then we don't need sweep picking. We don't need all kinds of crazy stuff. But you can put it in there if you want to, right? Like in this. Nice little pentatonic groove. Nothing too hard, right? I can bring in some diatonic stuff. Some legato hammer and pull off work, right? But then if I wanted to throw in a little sweep, I could. It's all a matter of taste. It's all a matter of what you want to do with your music and how you want to bring in, various grooves and things like that. And again, it allows you to be more expressive. Whatever you want to express, it allows you to be more expressive. All right, so thank you for checking out this lesson. I hope you enjoyed something. I hope you had a good laugh at all my mistakes. And if you'd like to check out some stuff that I got out there, I got a free course out there for you. It's over at justpickuptheguitarango.com. I'd love for you to check that out and see, how I kind of create the foundation for everything that I do, which is all based on anchor shapes and understanding the fretboard. And even if you can't play everything, right, it helps you understand how to move up and down the fretboard, how to understand the basic major and minor scales, which I think is a great foundation for everything that we do on the guitar. So check that out. Just pickuptheguitarango.com, and I'll see you in the next lesson.